Welcome to Realizing Real Estate. Each week we'll be issuing a new edition, an interview with an investor, developer, business leader, government official, scholars, and others, all who in some way impact the world of real estate and the quality of your investment. Real estate has many facets. We will explore many of them in these brief podcasts. Every one of our guests will be interviewed in greater depth and length on our weekly radio show, Our House, which is broadcast every Saturday at 9 a.m. on WBEN 930 a.m. and 98.5 FM HD3 in the Buffalo Niagara Marketplace, but is accessible anywhere in the world on the Odyssey app or at WBEN.com. All of Realizing Real Estate podcasts are available at the iTunes Store, and our House radio shows are archived on our blog at huntrealestate.com. Join us every week and give us your feedback and suggestions for future topics, also at huntrealestate.com. Hello and welcome to Realizing Real Estate, a weekly episodal continuation of our podcast, which is where our mission is to help you protect and enhance your investment in real estate, whether it be here or anywhere in the markets we serve or anywhere in the world for that matter. Today we're going to be exploring concepts around sustainability and power generation and distribution with applications for residences and all buildings really, and what this might mean for our individual comfort, our cost structure and home ownership, and even affordability more generally in all forms of real estate. And to help with me in this discussion is Brian Posner, the Geothermal sales rep and core team member at NOCO Energy Corporation. Hello, Brian.
Hi, Peter. How's it going?
Great. It's good to have you here with me today. Brian, tell us a little bit about yourself here before we get into the big questions here.
Absolutely. So I'm a Western New York native. I grew up in Amherst, went to Amherst Middle School, high school, stayed on the East Coast for college, went to the University of Vermont, and then I came back to Buffalo to start working in finance as a financial advisor. Definitely have a passion for helping people with their home and their finances, but that specific line of work just wasn't interesting me like I was hoping it would. So I ended up getting into energy. I started working for a solar company, and then a few years ago, I ended up starting to work for NOCO's Geothermal division.
So let's look at your company name. Newman Oil Company, I think was its original name. And describe the shift that you're going through to address the issue of sustainability. I think that's a broad category, but I think that's what people can try to understand.
Absolutely. So as a fuels company, most of our portfolio still is heating oil, propane, diesel, off-road fuels. We are still a fossil fuels company. That being said, we see the writing on the wall. Jim Newman, a visionary, he's the third generation of the Newman family. It'd be very easy for him to rest on his laurels and say, no, I'm going to enjoy myself, retire, let my fuels company, make money and do well. But instead what he's doing is very aggressive plays into the clean energy space by investing in dozens of new energy efficiency divisions here at NOCO, like heat pumps, LED lighting, insulation air sealing, backup power generation, even to the point of black soldier fly bug processing, which I believe we mentioned a year ago or so when we were last on the podcast, but that's a whole other conversation.
So you said a lot there, and there's obviously a lot of science behind all this, and without getting too deep into it, I think a lot of people are just confused by it. Where would someone start if they wanted to figure out what might be right for them in their home, or if they owned an office building or something? Where would they begin?
Absolutely. So it always makes sense to start where the biggest benefit might be. So in a home or business, that's going to be whatever infrastructure or technology is starting to age out. So say you still have single-paned windows and most of your heat loss in your building is coming from windows. Replacing those with double-paned might be a start. Say you know that your furnace, air conditioner, hot water tank is rusted out and 20, 30 years old and probably in need of replacing soon. That's something where it makes sense to start looking into some of the new technologies to replace it with. So since there's so much here and it's easy to get lost in it, I'd say start where you would start anyway, even if you weren't looking into this, with what you need to do for building upkeep and see what advancements have come since the last time you looked into it.
So we start with the windows. We look at our heating system, our hot water system, which might be 20 years old or something like that. And I don't know what the average lifespan of one of those things is anyway, but it's probably not much more than that. Then we look at insulation. You mentioned what can be done for free in terms of analysis of somebody's home.
So the NYSERDA Comfort Home Study, phenomenal program. NYSERDA will pay a contractor to come into your home and do combustion testing to see what the combustion efficiency of your combustion appliances are, backdraft testing to see even in worst case scenarios if your home is backdrafting, which means those exhaust, that's carbon monoxide and those other exhaust gases that are supposed to leave your home through your chimney or vent pipes, those can actually get sucked back into the home sometimes. So they test for that. Combustion efficiency, they test for your thermal shell. They see how much heat is being put through your building or if your insulation or windows are up to code.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Absolutely. So overall, all these different great services they do are totally free to a homeowner. All they have to do is call a company like NOCO and ask for the Comfort Home Study, and they get set up, total free charge, and NYSERDA pays for the contractor to run all this testing.
Well, that sounds like a great place to start because I think a lot of people have no idea about that. And if they wanted to start that, would they call you?
Absolutely. They could call me. They could just Google NOCO and call the general NOCO number. We're very excited to start being able to offer this service.
So, we've talked before about how you get a message like this out, and hopefully through a podcast like this we can get started. But the fact of life is a lot of people it's too confusing. They look at this and they say, how can I possibly afford all the windows, new insulation, new heating? How can I do all that? And they say, well, heck with it. I'll just keep paying my bills, and it's maybe it's long run more efficient for me to do it the way they're talking about here, but I know what it costs me now. Don't bug me. How do we get to people? I think this is true about just any issue, but it's almost. Is there a way that you could go person by person, house by house? There are certainly neighborhoods that have greater need than others.
Education. It all comes from education. So I think that Comfort Home Study is a good first step in education, because when education is free, people tend to be a lot more receptive of it, especially when it's something that they don't want to spend their time learning about. People don't want to spend their time learning about their home, but it's certainly really important. So we, when we started doing the Comfort Home program, we started doing a lot of community relations and reaching out and letting people know we do it. And we got flooded with calls, and our guys for weeks couldn't even we had to actually get help answering the phone because of how many people were calling in, because on top of that being a free service that teaches you more about your home and fairly significant things it teaches you at that, it also qualifies you for higher levels of rebates.
Well, this is very important, but I'm going to jump over the middle ground here, and I'm going to have you paint a picture of what the ideal world might look like. If all the great things that I know you guys are working on, if all those great things were impacted right now, what would our world look like?
What it would probably look like is homes and commercial facilities that are all electric, in the sense that every appliance and type of technology in the building is high efficiency electric, and there would be a level of electric production at the facility. And that's really how we would bridge the gap between, everything going to electric and we don't have enough juice or enough even transmission power in the grid. Well, if all these buildings and homes are making 60 to 80% of their electricity and only needing to pull some of it in from the grid, theoretically, they would need to pull less electric into each building than they're pulling right now. So we could even technically accomplish this with the infrastructure we have now. But again, I think we're quite a few decades out from having a reliable electric generation at scale at every sort of building.
So we start with the high efficiency systems which are available today.
Absolutely.
And they'll get better and better, but they're available today. The next thing would be to look at internal home or building generation of power, right?
You can't make oil, you can't make gas, you can't make propane at your house, but you sure can make electricity.
And so the ideal picture would be kind of a self-contained internal grid for that building that ultimately
less reliance on the grid and on the government and more self-reliance. So
that sounds like the American way to me. And on that note, Brian Posner, Geothermal sales rep and core team member at NOCO Oil. Thanks very much. NOCO, I'm just NOCO. Thanks.
NOCO Energy, I think, is going to be one of the new catchphrases as the next few years
goes. I'll get rid of the word oil so I don't brand you guys. But thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having us, Peter.
And we'll be back again in another week with our next version of Realizing Real Estate. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you.